Welcome to the MLB show on the Sauter on Sports Podcast Network. I am Mark Sauter. He is Tom Brown. It is good to be back. Been about a week since we were on last. Good to be back. Lots happening in the WBC and lots to talk about when it comes to the MLB. This is it. This is how you know baseball season is right around the corner. Baseball podcasts like ours are everywhere across the world doing their divisional previews. And we're going to do it over-under style, starting with the National League today, and we will do the American League next week. We will also touch in with the WBC, what's going on. Quarterfinals start tomorrow. The Americans are stupid, and lots of stuff to go on from there. But before we do, Tom, how we feeling on a baseball Thursday, brother?
Never felt better in my life, Mark. Well rested, ready to go. Just had LASIK eye surgery again. And best shape of my life.
That's right. Best shape of your life. And it is good to be back. I got to tell you a story, Tom. We're friends from when I say we're friends from the college days, it makes it sound like we've been friends for like 30 years. But no, it was like 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
So I'm downtown Toronto yesterday with my daughter and my wife, and leaving the city, I go to the gas station, and gas prices are insane out here. I don't know what they are out where you're at, but
they're up, Mark. They're up.
They are quite up. And this is how like not in touch with things I am, is like a normal person would know like that gas prices are probably up everywhere. I am just a self-centered Torontonian, like, what do I know? Anyway, I'm at the gas station, I'm pumping my gas, and a City News. Do you have City News out there, or is that a Toronto thing? Yeah.
No, we have City News.
So City News cameraman and guy with the microphone pop out from behind the gas thing, like Batman coming out of the shadows, just out of nowhere. Stick a camera and a microphone in my face and just start asking me questions about parking prices. Don't ask me permission if they can talk to me. Nothing. Just, hey, we're talking to people about parking prices. They're going up 60% by the end of the year. Can you believe it? And I'm like, yeah, I can. The city, everything's going up by 1,000,000%. I can't believe it.
You know what I couldn't believe if the prices for something useful were going down. That would be the thing that would shock me.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So I just answer their questions. They talk to me for like 3 minutes and I just go with it and whatever. Okay, cool. Get back in the car. My wife is like, what was that all about? I tell her and she looks at me and she's like, you have a giant booger dangling from your nose. Just a dry beauty,
Oh, thanks, Shay.
And I look in the mirror and sure enough, I'm like, oh my God, I do. And sure enough, I was on the news last night and I did zoom in and the booger is undetected. You can't see it. But sure enough,
fake news. Fake news.
Yeah, and literally, do you know what? I like zoomed it in too. I was like, Give me a shot of that nostril. And you know how intelligent I was? You know what I said was? Because I didn't know that I was going to be talking to the news about freaking parking. I didn't even know that they were going up. I didn't even know. You want to know what I said? This is what I said, and it was the clip. I said a few things, but this was the clip that made it to the news. Tell me how spot on, just out of your behind this is. I said, yeah, between gas prices and parking prices, it's just all so like overwhelming,
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, you nailed it.
End clip.
You can't afford to park the car, can't afford to drive the car.
Yeah.
Just put it in the
Yeah.
lake, I guess. What are we doing here? Yeah.
Yeah. So that was what I said. I said, wow, gas prices are up, parking prices are up, and I'm just overwhelmed. Concerned.
Man's
Tron
people.
right there. Yeah, and it made the cut. All right. Let's move on to things that matter.
Much more than affordability.
Yeah.
Baseball. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. The WBC, really fun round, pool play. The quarterfinal starts tomorrow. United States and Canada, Korea and Dominican, and then on the other side of the bracket, Venezuela, Japan, Puerto Rico, Italy. Um, but the news coming out of the pool play was that the Americans didn't know the rules as far as
Right.
tiebreakers go. Mark DeRosa today walked that back, saying, "Of course, I knew what the rules were coming out of, going into that last game against Mexico." I don't know. It's really confusing. I will say that. I was listening to a couple of podcasts breaking down all the different stuff, and my head was spinning. I don't know. I found it very hard to kind of keep up with it all. Can you explain to the fine people um why the Americans, like, what was it? What was the situation? Why are the Americans being kind of jumped on here? Italy winning against Mexico, and specifically, actually no, just beating Mexico.
Beating
That
Mexico. Yeah.
that is what did it. If Mexico won, there was a whole bunch of tiebreakers that were coming into play. Why are the Americans getting such a hard time about this right now?
Well, they're getting a hard time about it for not knowing the rules, or knowing the rules and not acting like they knew the rules, one way or the other. The main problem, which somehow has been kind of glossed over in all of this, in everybody's like rushing glee to make fun of Mark DeRosa, is that the American the American World Baseball Classic team lost to a bunch of American players who weren't good enough to make the American World
That's the
Baseball Classic
best.
team. That's funny enough on its own. But yeah, because Italy was 3-0, because the U.S. had become 3-1, because the United States had beat Mexico. There was a scenario where if Mexico had beaten Italy, all three teams would be 3-1, and because they would have all beaten each other in a circle. Not saying anything. Yeah, a tiebreaker would have to come into play there, right? And the way that the tiebreaker rule works there, because there are other teams in the group. It's what is it? Runs for divided by outs made, right? And yeah, so clearly the United States didn't know that. They were very, very vocal about having spent the night after their previous game, staying up. Maybe some of them had a few drinks. Mark
That
DeRosa
was
even
funny.
said that some guys were dragging the next day, which is a really weird thing to say when you're sitting some people. So you basically have told us that what that Bryce Harper got liquored last night, because that's what it sounds like, right? When the manager says some guys were dragging, and there are changes made to the starting lineup. But yeah, they didn't take the game against Italy seriously. He had been on
It
MLB
looked like
Network.
it.
He isn't an MLB Network analyst, and so he'd been on there talking out of his uh, rear end. And yeah, and then of course he says he did know the rules, but then the way that he managed the game shows you that probably he didn't. Why would you be sitting? Why would you be sitting these guys? Why is Bryce Terang not playing? Why are you if it's important for Bryce Harper not to play at the beginning of the game and he's not hungover? Why is and he probably I mean he wasn't. He's they did pinch hit him, but why do you wait until the seventh inning to pinch hit him, right? And why in the seventh inning is Clayton Kershaw the one warming up? I don't know. It's a cluster, right, of things. So I think everybody by now, if you're listening to this podcast, by now you have seen John Boy's take on it, which is about as good as it's going to get, right? Either you're dumb because you didn't know the rules, or you're dumb because you did know the rules and you managed like a dummy, and it's just shockingly embarrassing for Mark DeRosa specifically, who the MLB media will always go around. He works for MLB Network, right? And therefore he's in with the league office and so forth and so on, right? So you get guys like Ken Rosenthal at the Athletic going around and saying, well, he does get credit because he's the guy who put this team together and blah, blah, blah. Like, with all due respect to anybody who deserves it, Mark DeRosa isn't the reason that Aaron Judge is there. Aaron Judge is there because he wants to be. If somebody else had asked him instead of Mark DeRosa, it wouldn't have changed the calculus in Bryce Harper's mind. It wouldn't have changed whether or not any of these guys chose to come, right? But yeah, he's the guy who was there. Sure, doesn't make him executive of the year in international baseball. And clearly, one way or the other, clearly not manager of the year. The most unfortunate part about this, because all of that's funny, right? But they don't. It's not like that makes their team bad now, and because of all of this dicking around being dummies, they didn't win their group, and Canada did win their group, and now Canada has to play a Team USA that has some egg on its face. It's not the greatest situation when you Canada. All they did was what they were supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
Canada probably wishing at this point in their heart of hearts that they would have lost that game to Dominican and then still beat Cuba to finish second in the group, because as much fun. And by the way, I did mention that Team Italy is a bunch of Americans who weren't good enough to make Team USA, but they are a really fun story, a really good team too, right? That's no disrespect. Canada would rather play them than to play a somewhat embarrassed Team USA that now has a chip on its shoulder. Again, I don't believe in those kind of narratives where they're going to be playing for Mark DeRosa's honor or anything like that, but I don't know that Aaron Judge and company need to rally around a guy who's proven himself a little bit out of his depth, when they can just rally around, the flag of their country, which is on their jerseys, and they can rally around the fact that, important or not, a bunch of attention was brought to the fact that they lost to a team that they absolutely shouldn't have lost to. I would expect them to be excellent tomorrow, because they are excellent.
Yeah, and a lot of people are like getting on the players for not knowing the rules and stuff too. And like, quite honestly, I don't put anything on the players, in my opinion. Like, that's the players go out, they play. The management, there's got to be, and it's not even just Mark DeRosa, man. There's a long list of people that should have known, at least to tell him, like, hey, this is the situation, whatever. I think one story that's being underlooked because of what happened with Team USA is Italy has been awesome.
So fun.
Like, they have been terrific. And I think what's really fun about it is that, like, you were on the show with me, and everybody put it as USA, Mexico, everybody else. That was kind of the conversation. And Italy, they haven't, or did they lose one game? Did they lose one?
Italy clean.
Yeah, they haven't lost. It's been a lot of fun. And so yeah, that all starts tomorrow. Team Canada, USA at 8 p.m. Republic of Korea, and Dominican Republic at 6:30. Talk about smashing teams. Dominican Republic, 41 runs scored in the tournament, just demolishing everybody. Yep. For content, I think a Dominican USA semifinal would just be phenomenal. As a Canadian, obviously, I want to see Canada go as far as possible. And also just for my pride, like the amount of like we own Canada in hockey and in baseball, and it's like you have a baseball team and a goalie. That's kind of what happened there, but I don't want to open up that door. All right, let's move right along. You got anything else to say about the WBC?
Yeah, about the only thing that could hamper Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's attempts at this point to repeat as NBA MVP would probably be Canada beating the U.S. in the World Baseball Classic tomorrow. That might be other than that. I think he's safe.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on to the National League, to baseball. The National League preview, over under style. Give me 1 second. I had to pull this up. I had to get rid of it for the stupid WBC. All right, let's start with the West Division, and let's start with the reigning two-time World Series champions, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Over under is 103.5. Which
we're gonna have slightly different over under numbers. We can just clarify them. I have them at 102.5. I went with the Yahoo numbers there. Whatever, that's close enough, right? Either way. Look at their offseason, right? The two-time defending champs.
So real quickly, I have it here. Oh, no, I don't. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a pretty easy under for me, which is going to sound odd. They're obviously the two-time defending champions. Nobody in the division can really touch them and make them work, right? And a team that had really only two kind of minor quibbles with it last year, a bullpen that was a sieve and down to running on fumes by the playoffs. Hiroki Sasaki really saved them. Yamamoto coming out of the bullpen repeatedly in the playoffs from the rotation also saved them. They added Edwin Diaz to the back end. That's a pretty emphatic stopper. And then they didn't really their outfield not the most productive. Obviously, with Mookie Betts playing shortstop now, the Michael Conforto signing last year was a disaster. So why not just sign the best the best free agent possible, right? In Kyle Tucker. Terrific deals. But the fact is, I mean, this is over under, right? Vegas is setting these lines where they think you're going to bet, not based on probabilities. They won last year. They're as dominant a team as we've seen after a season where they won 93 games, right? The year before they won after a season, I believe they over under 2 years ago, the first year that they won the World Series in this last 2 years. The over-under was 104.5. I think they won 98 games that year, right? Closer, but not close enough. It's just really hard to win 102 to win 103 or 104 games, depending on where you're seeing this line at. One thing I know, they are minus 5,000 to make the playoffs. That's worse than putting your money in a savings account for 6 months. So don't bother betting on that. There's just really not any kind of motivation for them to push. We've seen what they've done with their rotation and their bullpen the last couple of years, which is pretty liberal use of the IL to ensure the guys are healthy and fresh when it comes to the playoffs. They're just not going to be pushing really hard in July and August, and they won't need to. Their closest division rivals, who we'll get to shortly, are just not going to be close enough to actually make them sweat at all. So why would they keep their foot on the gas? That they're playing the long game. They want to win a third championship, not hit the over on their Vegas odds here.
Yeah, and I think while the second team in the division will be, not close enough to make them sweat, I think that the division as a whole, I think the Giants are going to be better. The Padres are going to be good still. I think that it's good enough to give them a little bit of trouble during the regular season. It doesn't mean that they're going to be close in the standings per se. But yeah, it's just too much. And if you've watched the Dodgers at all over the last few years, they don't care. They don't care. Yeah. Just get to the playoffs healthy. We saw the formula of them having one pitcher on the IL at all times. And that's just kind of how, and that's just kind of how they're going to operate. So yeah, what I was saying before, arrivals, like you said, Kyle Tucker, Edwin Diaz, Miguel Rojas re-signed, Enrique Hernandez re-signed. Dude, Kiki Hernandez is one of those players I just really love to root for him. I don't know why. I just really like to cheer that guy on. And
It's weird
Evan
because he's
Phillips.
a LA Dodgers legend. Nobody likes the Death Star, and he's got that Boston Red Sox stink on him from when he was gone too. So like really, there's no excuse for liking him except for that boy is he likable. You know?
Yeah, dude,
He's
really
really
likable.
yeah, you want that guy on your team. I wish I worked with that guy. You know, I'm not a baseball player, but if he was in my office, that'd be all right. I'd go say
I
hi to
remember
PK.
years ago on Sunday Night Baseball, he was mic'd up in the outfield, just like shooting the breeze with the guys in the booth. And
Yeah.
I'm like, man, this guy seems like a good dude. And then yeah, like you said, Michael Conforto, Anthony Banda, and Kirby Yates. Kirby Yates, full of potential, was not useful at all, and still didn't matter in the least. Could have used them in the postseason for sure.
I mean,
But
one-arm
didn't
pitchers.
didn't matter in the least. All right, moving on. San Francisco Giants 80.5 arrivals. Luis Arraez, Tyler Malley, Adrian Hauser, Harrison Bader, Sam Henches. I'm going to butcher a lot of these names. Departures: Justin Verlander and Wilmer Flores. Give me your thoughts on the San Francisco Giants heading into the season. This is a team. Listen, 80.5 for this roster is low. The Giants are a team every season that just on paper I have high hopes for. Obviously, their rotation, starting with Logan Webb, it is good. I think adding the players that they added, I really like. Adrian Hauser personally. I know that Luis
Luis Arraez can't
Perez, I
play
think.
second base. They've signed him to play second base. He's a second baseman in the same way that I'm a second baseman.
I don't know if it's the same way.
Well, no, I'd probably get to a few more balls, but yeah.
But still a very good player, and if they can figure out a way to put him, I don't know, to kind of, I don't know. I like the additions. My point being is that this San Francisco Giants team is a team that I like on paper every single year, and they just never reach the caliber that they should. When we saw that with a lot of different players last year. Where are you at? I'll just go right off the top. I'm taking the over here. I think that it's going to be improved from what it was last year. Does that mean that they're a playoff team? I don't know about that. But I think they'll go over the 80.5 win mark.
Yeah, I like the over here, and I don't like anything else about them. I think that long term, I hate what looks like no vision or just a reactionary, really conservative view of the front office under Buster Posey. I don't understand what they're doing. I do think that 80.5 wins is too low for the over under. The talent on hand, particularly in their infield, right? They'll have Rafi Devers playing first base. I know the Boston media would have you think that he's the worst fielding third baseman of all time, but even so, he should be an absolute positive at first. And then the left side of the infield with Willie Adames at short and Matt Chapman at third. Adames had a bit of difficulty adjusting to San Francisco last year in his first year in the hardest hitters park in the majors. And Matt Chapman's month by month splits will always kind of give you whiplash. But by the end of the year, they both had, Chapman by the end of the year always has fine numbers. Defense never slumps. And Willie Adames' second half was in line with what you'd expect from him over a full season. I think that that's what they're going to get. Yeah. And I think that's enough to prop them up, especially with Brandon Webb heading the rotation. Beyond that, I don't understand what they're doing. I don't like the Luis Arraez fit there. I think his bat profile is just fine there. That's not a problem, but they don't really have the DH spot open for him, and he really shouldn't be playing every day. It looks like he took that contract because he hasn't been playing at second base for a while. Nobody knows what to do with his contract because he has no power. He has no defensive home. He's a minus on the base paths. And so he was a kind of a really interesting contract case going into the offseason. And what turned out was it looks for all the world like he took a small discount on a very short-term deal in order to be given everyday second base opportunity to see if that could help him get a little bit more security and long-term and longer term on his next contract. I'm very skeptical. His bat is fine, and that's good. I just don't see how it really fits there. I like the Harrison Bader signing. They've got a decent outfield. It's not a star-studded outfield by any stretch. I like Jung Lee though as well, and maybe this is the year he stays healthy, right? But this shouldn't be a team, and isn't clearly a team based on just on lights out offense. The ballpark that they play half their games in makes that really hard. What I don't get is the way that they allocate their resources on the pitching side. The bullpen looks like a dystopian science fiction novel to me. And you mentioned Adrian Hauser. I've liked Adrian Hauser since back in his Brewers days. He's been DFA'd and waived so many times at this point. The Tyler Mahle signing. Tyler Mahle's had a little bit more upside in his career, but he's also had a lot more injuries in his career. What I don't understand is they're just allergic to any kind of a long-term commitment to any kind of pitching. They no problem signing Matt Chapman to a 6-year deal on top of the 1-year deal that they signed him for. No problem signing Willie Adames to a 7-year deal after starting last year. No problem taking on all of the long-term money on Rafi Devers' contract, a trade I think they'd make again, and any team should have been happy to make over and over again. Only Devers is really squarely in his prime, though, of those guys, right? Adames is starting to age. Matt Chapman is starting to age. At some point sooner than later, those contracts are going to start to look like they're on the red side of the ledger rather than the production keeping them in the black. And so in order to support Brent Webb this year, I mean, obviously they have Robbie Ray, Ricky Ray, Toronto Blue Jays emeritus. Robbie Ray.
Robbie Ray with his pants
who we remember.
On. It's great.
Who we all know, though, is still a very trick-or-treat player. You don't know exactly what you're going to get on a given start, or you don't know how many starts you're going to get in a given year. Will it be strikeout Robbie, or will it be walk everybody Robbie? It's not much to bet on. So you can understand with like younger pitchers looking to establish themselves, Landon Raup, Hayden Birdsong, guys like that, they did need to go out into free agency and solidify the rotation. What I don't get is jumping the market to sign two guys to slightly over $10 million deals in an injury bounce back, Tyler Mahle, and in what are we even thinking here, Adrian Hauser? These are the kind of guys that are typically available at the end of the offseason for much less. I mean, we'll talk probably a little bit about what Colorado did with their rotation shortly. They added 3 pitchers for significantly more value, in my opinion, for a combined third the cost. But that's not even to say you couldn't go. Say you wanted to spend $22 million this year to shore up 2 spots in your bullpen. Well, why not sign or even try to sign a Chris Bassett, right, who signed for $18 million, somebody with a little bit more upside, because there's really no upside. Tyler Mahle is not going to stay healthy at this point in his career. If he does, a good process would be for that to be for an also-ran team who has no designs on actually making the playoffs, giving him enough starts and hoping to trade him at the deadline, right? It makes no sense for a team that's burning through prime years of expensive players to be signing these guys, and it's the opportunity cost. You spent $22 million. Either one of these contracts could look fine, but when you sign them in January, February, you're punting on the opportunity to sign a bargain contract later in the offseason. You're punting on any upside with guys who have actual chance to be good, and not serviceable and not surprising. I just don't see what they're doing, and it looks like a waste. That's it. Bunch of negativity, right? And I expect that to continue because I don't see any change in that part the organizational philosophy, even from Far Anxiety to Buster Posey. So really, really kind of distressing for Giants fans, I would think. But yeah, there's too much talent here to be below 500. 80 and a half. They're not going to. I don't see this as a team that loses more than it wins. So it's
Yeah, I mean, they were 81 and 81 last year, as 500 as you could possibly be. So, literally, they have to win. They have to win what? One more game.
No,
they have to win
even.
one more
No,
game than they did last year.
They can beat 500 and beat this over, right?
Or actually, yeah, they can just basically
repeat.
Have the same record as they did last year and hit this over. All right, moving on to the San Diego Padres. Michael King re-signed. Miguel, help me here. Miguel, and I can't pronounce half his names. There you go. Sungmun Song, Nick Castellanos, Griffin Canning. Departures: Dylan Cease, Robert Suarez, Luis Reyes, Ryan O'Hearn. Last season, 90 and 72. The total for this season is 83 and a half.
Yeah, I'm seeing 85 and a half where I'm looking, and I've still got the over here. I actually think this is the team that I have as second in the division ahead of the Giants.
So explain for those of us out there, like, that's a significant drop. Like that's to win 90 games last year. Mm-hmm. And to have the over-under in these markets between 5 and 7 wins less than you had last year. Explain that drop-off.
Well, I think you explained it there yourself. They were a little bit out over their skis last year. They constantly trade all their prospects away. But look at the guys who are gone, right? Dylan Cease, gone. Luis Arraez gone. Yeah, and Robert Suarez gone. So they hit their over last year too, right? This isn't a team with a lot of depth. This is a team that has some aging contributors. But yeah, it's also a team that is not listed there, right? Joe Musgrove is expected to be back early in the season. I think he'll start on the IL, but he should be back early in the season. He comes back from a Tommy John injury. It's a team, as you mentioned, Michael King re-signed on the typical AJ Preller, I'll gladly pay you tomorrow for a hamburger today contract. And they kept Nick Pivetta, who's still wildly underrated. So I actually like the top of their rotation quite a bit. It's the depth that's a problem. Your bullpen, while still a strength, didn't get better when Robert Suarez signed with the Braves. And yeah, they're relying on some other guys. There will be some guys. NRI's Ty France is in the organization now on a non-roster invitee on a minor league deal, who is taking reps at second and third base. He hasn't played second base since 2021, I believe. Stuff like that, just fun things. But to me, they're pretty easy over, based on the tentpole stars, right? You've got Fernando Tatis, you've got Manny Machado. That's going to drag you a long ways of the way. And I like the top of the rotation. The bullpen, Mason Miller is still at the back of it. It's still a very, very strong bullpen. And nobody can churn a roster, back half, top half, anything quite like AJ Preller. So the team that you see on opening day certainly won't be representative of the team that you see at the end of the year, but they have enough talent in-house to win, and I think win over 85 and a half games. They don't have enough to compete for the top of the division. They're just not going to be able to do that over 162 games. But with that kind of star power, I do look forward to seeing them in the wild card round of the playoffs, and maybe they can do some damage.
Yeah, and they do have enough. They do have enough to stay in the mix. They have enough offense. They have enough pitching. They're not, like you said, they're not going to be keeping up with the Dodgers of the world, but they do have enough to maybe not hit the 90 win total like they did last year, but they do have enough to clear that number and get back to the playoffs once again, like they did last season. All right, moving on to the Arizona Diamondbacks. And for me, last year, 80, 82, 80 and 82, 79 and a half is their total this season. It's if we're talking, so Zach Gallen re-signed to a 1-year deal, if I remember correctly, basically a qualifying hire. They bring Merrill Kelly back, Nolan Arenado, Carlos Santana, Michael Soroka, Paul Sewald, Cade Stroud, departure Blaze Alexander, Jake McCarthy. Fine as far as the arrivals go. It's fine. I mean, Zach Allen had a down year last year, to say the least. I think, having him on your roster, I think you would always rather that than not, at least at this point in his career, even with the down year last year. Michael Soroka, he's a guy starting pitching out of the bullpen, wherever you want him, you can put him and he'll perform.
And he's
Canadian. Obviously, listen, Nolan Arenado, you're just hoping that some sort of resurgence of the man he used to be. When it comes to Carlos Santana as well, kind of same thing. To me, listen, I would have probably gone. I don't know. I would have probably gone reluctantly under this number, very hesitantly. Regardless, you're going to get into it here in a minute, I'm sure. It's all about injuries for this baseball team. Everybody is hurt right now, and not just everybody. Like, the players that you need to play at a high level are hurt. Now, you have a very good infield, specifically the middle of the infield. Still a lot of talent on this roster, but the injuries they have are just really big ones, and I don't know if I can bring myself to go over this number.
Yeah, it's not just the injuries. Of course, Corbin Burns out, Tommy John surgery last year. He's going to the second year of that long-term contract. Huge bummer, because that's the kind of organizing principle at the top of a rotation that you love to have, right? But Corbin Carroll, whose games played is still going to be high this year. He broke his hamate bone, which is the new popular injury this year's spring training. I don't like this fat. I think it sucks. But yeah, hamate bone. He'll be back. If not, I know he's making noises about being ready by opening day. I'm sure that their medical staff and management won't allow him to come back quite that quickly. The problem with that is he can come back, he can play, he'll be an excellent defensive outfielder still. He can do a lot of the other things that he does. He's a plus base runner, right? Hits for average. But of course, his power breakout from last year is now going to take a step back. The hamate injury, we'll get to it with a few other players around the league, unfortunately, as we go forward in this preview. Hamate injury takes about a year for the power to actually come back. It's just a little bone in your wrist, and yeah, it makes your hand kind of feel numb. And power hitters especially, just it takes forever, about a calendar year typically on average, for their power to kind of return to the level that it was at. So you're getting diminished Corbin Carroll, which isn't bad. He's still going to be good. He put up almost 6 wins above replacement by Baseball Reference Manager last year on 140 OPS plus, but it's going to be a diminished version, right? And how much that adjusts, how much he has to adjust his game, how much that changes the way he plays, is to be seen. Obviously, Mark mentioned Geraldo Perdomo is there, Ketel Marte is there in the middle infield. They still have Gabriel Moreno, former Blue Jays top prospect at catcher. Yep. He can hit a little bit. He was hurt last year in what was kind of a season of health, but it's not just the injuries, right? Because also we just watched this team last year in the midst of a wild card chase, not love the hand that the season had dealt them, not love their chances, not think that maybe even if they had snuck in to a wild card spot, not think that maybe they stacked up as well with some of the other teams in the playoffs, and so they chose to sell, right? So when you have guys like Perdomo, like Marte, like Corbin Carroll, like Gabriel Moreno, Brandon Fad, et cetera, all under contract for a long time. They have the kind of the runway if they need to. If this year doesn't go the same way that if it doesn't go perfectly, they could very easily. We just watched them 8 months ago pull the plug and trade free agents to strengthen their farm system to bring in near term help because the skeleton of a really good team is still here. It's just kind of how they decide to flesh it out and how that works this year, especially with all those injuries. Is to be seen. Should mention this could be the year. Former top prospect Pavin Smith has had some really hot stretches at first base in the past. He's more of a platoon bat, but the strong side of a platoon. Is this the year that he finally puts it together? I hope so.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent on that team. Definitely a fun team to watch, which I know that being fun doesn't get you into the playoffs, but they definitely have like the pitching staff worth watching, the talent worth watching, and we'll see how the injuries pan out as the season goes along. All right, before moving to the East Division, interrupt this program to let everybody know this show is brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Right now, promo code SPORTS10. Get 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire First Round Collectibles store. Football, baseball, hockey, basketball, wrestling, F1, you name it, they got it. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Promo code SPORTS10. And Total Apex Sports, Total Apex Media, as always, big shout out to them for having us on board. Love those guys, appreciate those guys. Basketball season just about at the finish line. Same with the NHL. Football season, one season's over, the other season is just getting back. The other part of the NFL season is just getting started. We always say the NFL season's never over. It's continuous, ongoing. Kyler Murray literally just got the notification that our guy Kyler Murray heading to Minnesota, which I don't know. If I was a Minnesota Vikings fan, I'd just smash my head against the wall every offseason. Like, I don't understand.
You know what? I'm in Manitoba, and the huge Vikings are the preferred NFL team of this region of Canada. And everybody's been looking forward to this. People are really on board with this. Vikings fans are Vikings fans are on board with this. This is going to be good. JJ McCarthy is I think it's more of a reflection of how much people don't like JJ McCarthy. But this is going to be a good one. Oakland A's legend Kyler Murray. Now,
that's right,
for the Minnesota Vikings.
Listen,
I do have one thing. I want to pick a bone. I've got a bone to pick with you here. You went to commercial there, which is great. First Round Collectibles.
We'll get back to it.
But you said before we get to the East.
Yeah.
Is everybody the Colorado Rockies have not been contracted.
I know. I saw your note. We'll get I saw your note. We'll get back to it. I don't know. I just figured if you're not going to win more than 34 baseball games, do we really have to talk about you? But I guess we probably should. But yeah, my point is totalapexsports.com, whatever nonsense you need to know. Listen, Kyler Murray, if you're excited about it out in Winnipeg, out in Minnesota, you all deserve something to be happy about. You got terrific wide receivers. You have one of the best defensive minds as a defensive coordinator in the NFL. And however, if you are over the moon excited about Kyler Murray, you have not been paying attention to the Arizona Cardinals over the last 7 years.
What I don't know, man. Though, is like we've got the head coach is noted quarterback whisperer. But when your quarterback's so short, will he be able to hear the whispers, Mark? Can he hear the whispers?
I don't think so, man. I don't think so.
He's too
and
short.
You know what's so funny, dude, is like this guy, especially when the contract was being signed and the rumblings of him just being like addicted to video games and not taking his job seriously, all of that was kind of behind us. And then in the off season or during the season, I guess, his like kid was born. And there's like a picture going out of like him literally having a full Call of Duty setup while his wife was in labor, like in the delivery room. I'll tell you right now, my wife would have snapped my balls off if that.
Yeah, I don't expect this to go well, but you know what?
I was watching, full disclosure, like while she was in labor earlier in the day. I was watching football on my phone, but you know what I was doing, bro? I had my feet up, my cell phone being blocked. She knew what I was doing, but I'm not showing any evidence. Quietly watching the Eagles game. I'm not putting in a 54-inch TV with a console. No way, dude. My wife would lose it on me. But either way, whatever you need to know, basketball, football, baseball, hockey, TotalApexSports.com has you covered. All right. As Tom did suggest, I did leave out the Colorado Rockies in the West. 55 is their over-under total on FanDuel. They were 43 and 119 last season. So 55 and a half. You may laugh at it. You may sneeze at it. That's quite the improvement from what we saw from this team last year.
Nobody cares about who's in and out.
Jose Quintana.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. They're a terrible team. They're ass.
Castro.
But here's the thing.
Lorenzen. They got some fun names in here. Like they've
got some bench guys. They've got some failed bench guys. Edouard Julien, Canadian. They've got now 3 actual real live fifth starters, and Michael Lorenzen, Jose Quintana, and Tomoyuki Sagano. Pitchers I mentioned in the Giants capsule as being, in my opinion, preferable to what the Giants brought in. But none of that matters. The fact that they lost 119 games last year, the year after the Chicago White Sox lost 121 games, is kind of maybe made people numb to the fact that losing that many games is almost impossible. The amount of games you have to, how bad you have to be, happens very infrequently. It's only happened like 6 times since the year 2000 that a team has lost over 110 games, right? Just because we have recency bias seeing it happen the last 2 years. So let's remember the recency bias of last year. After the White Sox lost even worse, 121 games in 2024, they went ahead and traded away their best player in Garrett Crochet. They went ahead and did not do anything to invest in their 26-man roster at all going into last year. And they improved to 102 loss. Now, a 102 loss team is still a big bag of ass, right? And I expect that to be the case for the Rockies this year as well. But over 55 wins. I have it at over 52 and a half on Yahoo's where I saw it. But either way, they'll lose 100-ish games. They will not. Take the over here. This is probably the easiest over on the board. We talked about how difficult it will be for the Dodgers to win 102 and a half or 103 or more games, right? And that's a team that's trying to win, but probably takes a foot off the gas. When you're playing against a great team, that's the team that's always the measuring stick. That's the team that everybody, the Dodgers get other teams' best, right? Every time they play them. That's one of the reasons you kind of go on the under when it's an outlier number. Well, you know who's not getting anybody's best? The Colorado Rockies. The Colorado Rockies is a team. Whenever a player gets suspended, they they hold an appeal and then they drop the appeal right before a time when it's convenient for them to serve their suspension. Well, you serve that suspension against the Colorado Rockies because you're probably going to beat them anyway. This is a team when if you need somebody to go on a phantom IL stint, you wait until you're playing the Rockies to make sure that whatever they're not playing anybody's. Nobody brings their A game to play the Rockies. It's going to be really, really hard for them to hit the under on that. I don't mind some of their players. Injuries, a bunch of things went wrong for them to lose that many games last year. They're still bad. They're still 100 lost bad, but that's a very easy over. Probably the easiest call period this year is Colorado over that number.
Yeah, and you know what, man? I find baseball fascinating for so many reasons. It's the one thing in life where you can fail 70% of the time and still be one of the best at what you do.
Mm-hmm.
It's just when it comes to statistically as a hitter. And it's just you can lose 65 times and still be one of the best teams in baseball. It's just beautiful like that. On the opposite side of it, like the millions in the bank is a really nice feeling. At the end of the day, you're still a human being, and walking off a baseball field 119 times as a loser in the span of 6 months, that is hard, man. Like that is tough.
Luckily, when you're that bad of a team, it's always because there have been some injuries, there have been some player movement, there's been some turnover and so forth. So no single player has to do that. They fired their manager midseason last year, so not even a single manager has to do that. The White Sox fired their manager in the middle of 2024 as well. So 102. I would. You'd have to set this line a bit higher for me to even consider. This is a run don't walk situation.
It always drives me nuts when a manager gets fired. When he's on a roster that sucks this bad, like, you know what I mean? Like for the White Sox
too, right?
What's that? Sorry.
It's a mercy killing too sometimes, right? I don't think with Pedro Grifol with the White Sox in 2024, I think he had become. I think he was persona non grata in the organization by the time that he was fired. Sometimes people start rubbing each other the wrong way, and I think the front office stepped in because he was doing more harm than good to the young players in particular. I'm not sure what the situation was with Colorado last year, but I'll tell you what, feels like a mercy killing when Ezekiel Tovar was hurt to begin the year and stayed hurt all year. Brenton Doyle was hurt on and off and terrible when he played. Your best players not being available or drastically underperforming when you're already a bad team. Yeah, their contracts are guaranteed, right? I think we're much more likely to see some of the coaching staff who have been culled from Colorado make an appearance back in the league sooner than later than we are to see Pedro Grifol do the same.
All right, moving on to the East, and let's kick it off with the Atlanta Braves. 87.5 is the total from for me on FanDuel. Let me just pull this up here real quick. My apologies. Last season, 76 and 86. Not a ton, at least in my mind, as far as departures go. Marcell Ozuna is a name, but not quite the player that he was. They brought in a lot of guys. Robert Suarez, Kim, Yastrzemski, Jonah Heim. To me, listen, the Atlanta Braves 87.5 is a good total. It's a good price. It's a good number to make you think. I think this still has a good rotation. I wouldn't say incredible by any means. I think it's okay. They still have talent on the field. What is pulling me away from this team is um I cannot trust this team to stay healthy. Like I can't trust Kuna Jr. to stay on the baseball field. Um I just don't know what I'm getting as far as consistency from this team. It's a really fun team to bet as far as home run props and strikeout props with Strider and stuff like that. But if we're talking a team that's going to make the playoffs and make a run to another World Series. Now they have AA, right? They have my guy, AA, our guy. I will always root for that baseball team. Wherever AA goes, I will always root for heavily. I will always cheer that team on. When it comes to this baseball team, I just can't trust the consistency of what is going on the field. And Profar, like, that's a big deal.
Yeah, the
You
profile
know?
thing is weird. I think this is a really easy, sadly easy under for me.
Yeah, me too.
At 88.5 is what I'm seeing on Yahoo. Um, the 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 rotation isn't good. The rotation isn't good anymore. Chris Sale is still around. They've actually recently extended him, but he's a huge injury risk, and he's one of the only healthy players. Spencer Strider has done it once, 1 year he had a one healthy, excellent year, fantastic by the way, but uh, we don't know if that's still in there. We don't know if that's going to be there all the time, and that's their healthy pitching. Spencer Schwellenbach gone, everybody else gone, right? Out with serious injuries for the rest of the year. And just because they've already had this many serious injuries doesn't mean that Spencer Strider and Chris Sale are now guaranteed to be healthy. Not at all. It just means that they need them to be even more. I love the bullpen. I think the addition of Robert Suarez was fantastic. But yeah, I think that this might just be kind of the end of this era of the Braves because of the pitching injuries. You can make a better rotation. You could make a playoff rotation out of guys that they have hurt out for the year. And I don't think you can out of the guys that they have left, even though they are big names in Chris Sale and Spencer Strider. Ronald Acuna Jr., yeah, he's been hurt. That's multiple massive knee injuries. When he comes back, if he gets to full strength, is full strength still an 8 to 9 win player, or is that a 4 to 5 win player? I think it's most likely a 4 to 5 win player because I think once your legs go, they're gone, and I think that it's sad. I think it sucks, but I also think that it would be gross malpractice to let him keep running the way that he has been in the past. And I think, yeah, the 40-40 season, amazing. Not going to happen again. Not even going to try because it's more important to keep him on the field than not. But it just lowers their upside. I think also Ozzy Albies. I hate to say it. I think he's cooked. Injuries have taken their toll. Second basemen tend to age a little bit quicker than other players anyway. Riley, Olsen, yeah, good players both. A little bit more questionable in terms of consistency than you'd love to see. This team is just going to require way too much Yastrzemski for my liking. And yeah, the Profar thing, it makes me curious because when he went out with this suspension, that means they don't have to pay him, right? They get the $15 million break on their payroll. They get the $3 million break on their luxury tax payments. And yet they haven't gone out and signed any extra pitching. They haven't gone out and signed a replacement. Double A, we all know Double A. He's the most secretive GM in the game, right? And so that tells me, though, reading between the lines, that Liberty Media's, as they set up their new in-house RSN app, is more interested in saving that money than they are in reinvesting it, or that he has the money, but they're going to wait to see if they need it at the trade deadline. It's just a bunch of arrows pointing down, not enough pointing up. It's a bummer, but yeah, I think that this is. I think the Braves run, which is really impressive run over the last several years. Last year wasn't really the season from hell. I think it was just the new reality.
Yeah, and it is sad in a way. I think the Braves for a while were that team that you kind of, it was like Death Taxes and Braves being competitive, right? And I think that has started to kind of go. Not, I think it has started to go the other way. All right, let's move on to the Miami Marlins. 87.5 is the projected total. 79 wins was their number from last year. Christopher
Sorry, what?
Morel, I really like
Marlins?
that addition.
Marlins? Whoa. You Marlins are not 87.5 over under. 72.5.
Oh, are they really?
Yeah, I think you got them mixed up with you got them mixed up with the Phillies there. Sorry, but yeah, we can't start off on that. Yeah,
Yeah. Let me. Yeah. All right. Yeah. 72. I was gonna say that's a massive difference. I will say.
hey, I love the Owen Casey signing, the trade to bring in Owen Casey. I think that they're on the right track for sure, and I've got them over on 72.5. They ain't winning 80.
I do too.
9 or whatever it was, but yeah, last year, interestingly, and amid all the other storylines in the NL East, potential last run for the Phillies, the Braves season where everything went wrong, the Mets, amazing, tremendous, just beautiful collapse in the most Metsian fashion. And then in the Central, right? Who's gonna inherit this wild card spot that the Mets just can't wait to give away? Is that the Marlins were above 500 in the second half last year? This young team, new general manager,
very good.
Index comes from that. They're on the way up. They've added Owen Casey, Canadian top 100 prospect from the Cubs in a trade last year. I think they've taken a little step back with their pitching, right? Obviously, in that, but they fortified a lot of stuff there. I would say they're sneaky, kind of a fun potential wildcard team. Would not bet it, but at plus 500, it's not the craziest thing I've ever heard. But they are they're. I would argue they're probably a year away from being a wildcard team, from being like big trouble in the AL East or in the NL East for these other established teams. But yeah, love where they're going. Love the over on 72.5, and can't wait to see where it goes in the future. Interestingly, I do think Sandy Alcantara, who has I think 1 year left on his contract after this one, team options. It'll be interesting to see because I do think he'll bounce back further from his post-surgery recovery last year. Will he be traded at the deadline? Maybe. Will they just re-sign him? We'll see. It'll be fun to watch the Marlins. But yeah, over 72.5 there.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. This is another team, for whatever reason, I just like to root for. I think they weren't projected to be this incredible team last year, but I think they were unexpectedly bad to start the season. And like you said, they really did round into form at the end. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. That is on me. All right. I'm right there with you. Moving on to the Washington Nationals. 64.5. This team, I will always have very fond memories of their World Series run. Always have a special place in my heart for this team. And they won me a bunch of money on that run. A lot of money. So I will always take the over 64.5. Obviously losing Mackenzie Gore. Losing Mackenzie Gore last season. 66-96. So one less win gets them over. Talk to me about where you're at with the Washington Nationals. I like the roster. I can see a path to a team in the 70s when it comes to wins. But with this Nationals team, it is difficult to foresee that on some level. Where are you at with the Nationals? I think I am leaning slightly over here, but skeptically.
Yeah, I'm a pretty hard under here. They've changed their GM again. They're restarting the rebuild that never really took. I don't think CJ Abrams is still on the team certainly by the trade deadline, but might very well be traded earlier. I don't what they built or tried to build since that 2019 team and they tore that down. Never really took hold. They're bad. They're thin, and the players that they brought in for Soto are now either gone or Keibert Ruiz, and therefore useless. This team rivals the Rockies for complete and utter lack of talent for me. Their new general manager, new front office is starting fresh. We don't know if they'll be targeting more near term or long term prospects, but yeah, ugly team, ugly roster. A rebuild, when a rebuild doesn't work, it's just hideous, right? And that's kind of where this is. I don't foresee the over. I don't foresee them trying at all. Like their incentives are not with wins and losses right now. Their incentives are with the new front office getting a look at the talent in the organization and making evaluations for the future 3-40 years down the road. Not much fun to be a Nationals fan for the next few years, but I will remind everyone that flags fly forever.
Yes, they do. What does not fly forever is the New York Mets holding on to a divisional lead and onto a playoff spot. 90, 90 and a half is their total. There are some teams in sports that no matter how good their roster is, no matter what the projections are, no matter what the stats say, you just can't buy into it until you see it all the way through. In the NHL, the Buffalo Sabres are a perfect kind of depiction of this. I'm not comparing these two teams. I'm just saying the Buffalo Sabres have missed the playoffs 14 years in a row, and they are currently leading their division, and they will make the playoffs. I did not buy into that. They've been one of the best teams in the NHL since December. I did not buy into this until like yesterday because I've seen this team fall off a cliff way too many times to believe that they have any sort of success in the fabric of their DNA as a franchise. And the New York Mets last season, 83, 79, 90 and a half is the total this year. I like this roster. I like this pitching staff. I like them defensively. I like them offensively. I really like this team, and I will take the under until they can prove to me that they can do it for a full 162. I'm just not buying into it. I can't buy into it. This team fades away down the stretch. It happens all the time, and I'm just not or not even down the stretch, just for moments in a year where they just disappear. And I understand it's a long baseball season. I really like this baseball team, but I will not bet my money on them winning over whatever the number is. In this case, 90 and a half until I see it for a full 162. And I'll regroup heading into the 2027 season. What do you got?
I got them as an over, a pretty easy one. Yeah, they collapsed.
It should be.
Year.
You're right.
Hilarious. It was hilarious and very Mets-like. But we're only a year removed from the OMG Mets, who did make the playoffs, who didn't collapse, who gained momentum, carried steam, whatever you want to call it, turned into an unstoppable snowball rolling down the hill as the season went along, which doesn't matter because it's all different players now anyway. They traded Jeff McNeil, they traded Brandon Nimmo. Pete Alonso is gone in free agency. To replace Marcus Semien, Blue Jays alum at second base, elite second baseman. In Blue Jays alum in free agency, Bo Bichette. In via trade, Freddie Peralta from the Milwaukee Brewers, in what is my favorite trade of the entire offseason for both teams. Everybody made out like bandits there. Francisco Lindor has the same hamate injury that we discussed with Corbin Carroll earlier, and that is a bummer. His offense is powered by power and walks, and when a lot of those fly balls fail to clear the fence, I think pitchers will realize that they don't have to throw him to pitch to him off the plate, and so more of those walks will turn into more soft contact, and that's kind of a bummer for a year. But let's not get too dramatic about it. A subpar Francisco Lindor season is still a top 10 shortstop, most likely in the majors, and defense, as we've said before, doesn't slump. I love what they've done with the defense, but the real big thing here to me is that this rotation is the most fun. It's not, the median projections for this rotation aren't the best, but I see so many paths for this to become the best rotation in the majors. Bringing in Freddie Peralta from the Brewers is phenomenal work. He's a legitimate ace. They paid a really heavy price for him, and that's fine because he is the kind of organizing principle that's your stopper every 5 games. You know you're going to have this guy out there, and you can kind of plan around that. Behind him, they have Clay Holmes still, David Peterson, right? We know Sean Manaea is going to be back. I don't know what we'll get from any of those guys, but it should be better than what we saw in the second half of last year for sure. They have the top pitching prospect, among the top pitching prospects in the game, in Nolan McLean, who we've already seen shove in MLB. I love him as a prospect. He's going to be really good. They've also got Jonah Tong. He's already been optioned to the minors from big league camp, but he's waiting in the wings to come and help the team. And Kodai Senga, who had just an inexplicably awful second half of the year last year after he came back from a hamstring injury. He's not too old. He's shown that he's can be a dominant strikeout pitcher in the major leagues. I expect to bounce back to his previous levels. So you see, that's a lot of depth, right? And then that's also a lot of like really high upside pitching, and there's just multiple different ways, different paths to an elite rotation, which is of course the one of the best ways to win, especially in a tough division like they still do play in. The bullpen is fine. Bringing in Devin Williams and Luke Weaver from the Yankees is fairly amusing. Bringing it when you have a chance to recreate the 2025 New York Yankees bullpen, I guess you just have to take it. Losing Edwin Diaz does sting a little bit, but yeah, regular season anyway, that should definitely be a positive. Devin Williams, of course, had great success in Milwaukee before New York, right? So his track record is a lot better than I think people remember from last year. And then the offense, yeah, Lindor, a little worried about the power there. Although, a veteran who's such a great base runner as well, you expect that he'll be able to, even in a down year, still contribute in a lot of ways. Adding Bo Bichette, his bat just plays, right? I don't love him at third base. I don't think it matters. The defense up the middle is excellent, but the bat just plays. We saw he's just an excellent run producer. Citi Field, not a great hitter's park, but of course, Bo Bichette doesn't need a great hitter's park. He's not here to swing for the fences. He's here to wear you out by going the other way with doubles and singles into the right field gap. And if you want to get cute, yeah, he'll pull one, right? But yeah, he's essentially park proof in the way that he approaches things. He can go on a slump here and again, but the way he gets out of it is to just start lacing singles the other way. And when you have guys like, I don't know, Juan Soto batting ahead of him, there are going to be guys on base. And so how do you produce runs? Well, you get them on, get them over, and get them in, right? Bo Bichette has shown, and especially last year in leading the Blue Jays in RBI, he's shown he's just phenomenal at getting them over and getting them in. And I love that signing for the Mets. I think they had a weird vibe around the team last year. There was a lot of discontent, malcontents. I understand Juan Soto kind of gives off the impression of a guy who's sort of running his own race. And I get that maybe Pete Alonso and Brandon Nimmo and Jeff McNeil, who's also gone, right? These are guys who potentially, just judging by some of the tea spilt in athletic reporting at the Athletic, maybe it was a little bit more clicky than the previous year's iteration. The OMG Mets, the Grimace Mets, where everybody loved each other. It was the same guys, by the way. But yeah, winning teams get along, losing teams don't. This team looks like it's going to win a lot of games. And yeah, I can't be positive enough about what they've done with rebuilding their rotation over the winter.
Yeah, no, man, I don't disagree with anything that you said. Bo Bichette, I love how Toronto Blue Jays fans, when they see like video of him fumbling a ball at third base or whatever, and it's like, oh yeah, have fun watching him play defense. It's like, let's not pretend that he is one of the best and most consistent hitters for average in the MLB. Like, let's not pretend that we didn't watch this guy hit 300 year after year after year. Like, yeah, he fumbles some balls. That's not a new thing for Bo Bichette, but he's one of the best, most consistent hitters for average in the league. So, let's not pretend that that's not a thing. And I agree with you 100%. This roster should win a lot of games. I think that they can be right up there to win the division, to take it from the Phillies. I think this is a really, really good baseball team, and I just don't I will not buy the vibes until the season's over. I just need to see it for a full season. That's just how I am with certain teams. And that's how I am with the Mets. All right, we're going to do the Philadelphia Phillies, and then we do have to cut it here. We will come back for a part 2, maybe talk about some other things around the league as well, and wrap up the National League next time. Also, the AL preview will be coming up around the corner as well. But before we take off, let's go to the Philadelphia Phillies. Also, just want to shout out to everybody watching us on Total Apex Sports and on Solder on Sports. We appreciate you all very, very much. The Philadelphia Phillies, 96-66 last year, 89.5 is their total on FanDuel this year. Kyle Schwarber re-signed. JT Realmuto re-signed. Adolis Garcia brought in as well. Suarez, Castellanos, and Bader are the notable departures. This team, for me, I just feel like they're still in that window. Still, obviously, a very strong team up and down the lineup. Still trust that rotation. I don't think, for me, nothing has changed with this Phillies team. I'm taking the over on the number 89.5. I think that they cruise their way to another playoff appearance, and this team has reached the territory of not being judged by the regular season anymore. They're not. They are now, if they miss the playoffs, it's a disaster, especially in Philadelphia. But this team is not judged on the regular season. It's judged by the playoffs. So for me, I'm taking the 89.5. I'm taking them to win the division as well. And I do think that, what can they do come October? That's another conversation. But I do like this team, and I do think that they are going to do what they do every season, and that is find themselves playing October baseball. Tom, what do you got?
Yeah, I've got them over as well. I have them second in the division. This will probably be, regardless of what happens to last year on this era, where I have them over at a number that high. I have them there. Schwarber coming back, absolute uh, necessity for this team. Weirdness out of the front office last year. Dave Dombrowski, longtime executive, right? Probably future Hall of Fame executive. Uh, didn't exactly call out Bryce Harper, but mentioned publicly that Bryce Harper no longer looked to be an elite player, and apparently Bryce Harper took that personally. We saw some social media stuff wearing T-shirts saying "not elite" and so forth and so on. Uh, I expect Bryce Harper to have an excellent season. Now, I don't know. As you know, I don't typically buy into those kind of narratives. That nobody believed in me stuff is stuff that people say. It's what happens on the field that matters, right? But we're gonna have to get used to listening to this narrative one way or the other, whether or not it actually has any effect in the real world. It's going to be the one that the media talks about constantly all year. I expect Bryce Harper to come out and lay waste. He was hurt for a chunk of the year last year, so health is more important than narratives to me. Yeah, and Trey Turner, yeah, his defense is shot now at shortstop. Still an excellent hitter. The JT Realmuto, precisely the opposite. He's old. He can't hit at all anymore. His defense is actually kind of in decline, but his ability to handle a pitching staff and his ability to help with the game planning and all the unmeasurable parts of being a catcher is what's got him back there. It's notable there that both he and Alec Boehm were likely to be out the door if the Phillies had been able to sign um, Bo Bichette, which had been rumored right before.
Yeah.
Just in advance of him signing with the Mets. So you wonder a little bit about that. You wonder how different this team would look at that time because this team is old. Justin Crawford's in rookie. Um, yeah, we'll see. They actually four old teams. This is one that actually does give young players the playing time when it's their turn. We'll see if he's ready or not. The Rangers Suarez departure in free agency is a huge deal, in my opinion. They did extend Jesus Luzardo, but between the two of them, I think that was a decision made on price tag, not on quality. Ranger Suarez is a stalwart member of the rotation. Obviously, Christopher Sanchez is still there. Throw out his first appearance in the World Baseball Classic this season. Everything else about him is dominant ace. He's top 5 pitcher, probably in the major leagues. But behind him, he gets pretty sketchy. Jesus Luzardo is being paid in the future more for age and potential than for good pitcher, not great pitcher, right? Aaron Nola, again, throw out what he's done in the World Baseball Classic. A lot of question marks about him. Did not have a good season last year. And Blake Wheeler, obviously, Zach Wheeler, a huge injury question mark with thoracic outlet surgery and so forth. So don't love the rotation anymore. I'm tired of hearing about whether or not Andrew Painter is going to be a contributor at some point. This guy is going to wind up a 38-year-old rookie, and people will still be wondering if he's got, hey, look who's here, and some people will still be wondering about if this is the year that he really puts it together. I don't know. I have him as an over because we've got the Braves under, I've got the Nationals way under. Somebody's got to win these games. But yeah, not in love with this team. I do think that the infrastructure is still there. It's still strong enough for this season. But yeah, a little down on them compared to where I've been. At 89.5, it's an over. At 91.5, I'd be thinking real hard the other way.
Yeah, 100%. I just think, it's the opposite for me. What we were talking about with the Mets, where it's just that I know what this team is going to do during the regular season, and until they don't do it, I'm gonna ride with it. So as you see, my son is here. We are about to celebrate my daughter's birthday. 1 year old, right, buddy? 1 year old. That's right, buddy.
Right,
so next week we will be back to wrap up the NL, and we'll do another episode for the AL. Everybody, again, on Total Apex Sports, on Solder on Sports, we appreciate you joining us so very much. First round collectibles, promo code sports10 for 10% off your order. First-roundcollectibles.com and totalapexmedia.com as well. Love you, bro. Thanks for joining me as always, and we'll see everybody next